Bull is with us today, and he's not full of bull. I know all the jokes that you would make with that, but he's fabulous. He's been with us before, and he's here today to talk about a study that suggests a pretty stunning conclusion for people who, like Dana, feel that they truly crave sweets. Can you tell us about the study?
I certainly can, and actually what Dana says I find fascinating because it's a new scientific study that has been done that basically shows that there may be changes in our brains that are triggered by high-fat, high-calorie foods that mean that those sort of foods may be as addictive as heroin or cocaine. So something's going on in your brain. It may not necessarily be all your fault.
Isn't that a load off? I mean, just that opening statement, I mean, it sounds frightening, too, because it compares cookies to heroin, but, I mean, there may be a physical, chemical thing that if you get your body into a different routine, maybe you can...
Let me tell you a little bit about the study. So basically, this has been carried out at Scripps Institute. So this is a serious scientific study. It's been carried out by Professor Paul Kenny, who is an associate professor in molecular therapeutics. So he's someone who knows what he's talking about. It took 3 years to do, and it was done on rats. And I have to say, this has been done on rat studies. So they basically took 3 groups of rats, OK? They fed one group healthy rat food, normal rat food. One group, they fed high-calorie, high-fat foods, bacon, sausage, cheesecake, the things we love, but for 1 hour a day. And the final group, they gave all the high-fat, high-calorie foods for 23 hours a day.
Oh, my gosh.
OK? So they wanted to see how the rats then behaved in terms of eating, and they did something not terribly pleasant after that. They gave them electric shocks to their feet, OK?
Oh.
And so the rats that were eating the healthy foods got the shock, thought, I don't like this, I've now had a shock, and didn't eat. The ones on the high-calorie, high-fat foods for 1 hour a day also felt the pain and didn't eat. But the rats who had the high-calorie, high-fat food all the time, 23 hours a day, felt the pain, ignored the pain, carried on eating. So what it showed them was something was going on in their brains that overrode the mechanism of pain. And what they focused on was a chemical called dopamine, and that's a chemical that we make in our brains. Can I show you?
Sure. Come on over. We got a fake brain, not a real human one, so don't be scared.
OK. So luckily this is not my brain, otherwise I wouldn't be very well. So this is a brain, this is what your brain looks like, and then if you just sort of cut it open as you do, what we're talking about is the middle of the brain, right here, which is where this particular chemical of dopamine is made. That's all you need to know. And this dopamine is released when we have food, when we have sex, things that we enjoy, and it's a pleasure principle. So we have a release, we love it, OK?
Right.
And that's what this focused on. So if I can show you with my sort of scientific experiment a little bit.
Seesaw thing.
A little seesaw. So the way the brain is working is that the chemicals in our brain are in a very fine balance, OK? So I've put lots of brain chemicals here and dopamine here. So as you can see, this seesaw just moves up and down and it keeps us nice and stable.
Even.
OK.
Right.
Let me show you when you have your sweets or when we use cookies, for example. Let's use a couple of cookies and see what happens. So as we have a couple of cookies, you can see that the dopamine starts to rise, OK? So you feel pleasure. We like eating cookies. We love eating high-calorie, high-fat foods, don't we? Yes? Yeah. We love that.
See, I'm just substituting salami every time he says cookie. Salami.
Oh, it's sausage for me, and high-calorie, high-fat foods.
Yeah.
OK, then as you metabolize these and you burn them off, then essentially this then comes back to normal, OK?
Brings you back.
Brings you back. But what happens if you then expose yourself to high-calorie, high-fat foods all the time? Then what happens is the minute you put on the cookies the same amount, nothing happens. Nothing happens.
So it takes more.
It takes more.
To trigger.
And then we take more cookies and the portion sizes get bigger, and we then supersize, and then we have fries with it, and suddenly, you know what I'm talking about, suddenly you get this dopamine surge, you feel fantastic, and you feel very excited and elated again. So essentially what's happening is the body has regulated, thinking, there's so much dopamine, I can't possibly respond to this, so has thought, I'm not going to listen until the dopamine levels rise to such an extent that you then feel pleasure. And this is exactly or very similar to the mechanism that we see in drug addiction. So, for example, with cocaine, you take a bit, you feel good, the more you take, the more you
need.
have to take to get the same high. And so that's why I think this study is very interesting. For the first time, it may show that actually the same mechanism is at work. So the more that we expose ourselves to high-calorie, high-fat foods, the more we need to get the same high.